Welcome D-Lab everybody. In front of me I have a Supratek home audio preamplifier. These are built in Australia. The owner sent this to me for an initial inspection, and if that was good, then my task was to build him a power supply. So for me to build the required power supply, there was an 8-pin connector on the back of this unit. So at that point it was up to me to trace out the wiring inside the unit and figure out how to build that power supply. So while inspecting the unit, I found several components that had been cut out of the amp. I found loose wires, and worst of all, I found that the wiring going into these output transformers had been cut off. You could barely see the pigtails inside of these canisters, indicating that the parts had been harvested from this amp. So once again, we reached out to Supratek for documentation or a schematic on this unit. The response was that was an early prototype unit and we have no information on it. So another observation that I made is the tubes are not identified as to what type go in these sockets. Also, the selector switches and the input jacks have no identification on them. It's actually just a parts machine having very little value in its current condition. Because of the lack of support, I informed my customer that I could not complete the repair. I'll give you a little visual inspection of the Supratek preamp. These input tubes, the identifications wore off. I don't know what they are. These are 6 GK5s. You have a set of 6 FQ7s, and they drive 5881s that go to the output transformers. Let's take a look underneath. Alright, are you ready for this? Here it is, serial number 103. There's the bottom panel. Let's go inside and take a look. I'll zero in so you can see all the fine details. Here's all the input jacks. You see those holes right there? That's where the output transformers were supposed to be wired up to this terminal strip. There's also some loose components I spotted. Some things have been cut out up here near the input tubes. Things are glued in place. Those are pretty heavy capacitors. But there you go, guys. Something you don't see online, the inside of one of these preamps. So my thoughts on this preamp now that I've actually laid my hands on one? Well, it's a good looking unit, but the rest, draw your own conclusions.